So, evening, we are back again. We are going to talk about the farce that is football at the moment, the football authorities, the football clubs, etc., etc. As you can see, we are a man down. Jez has got dodgy Wi-Fi down in southern France, so he can't join us today, but he will be back next week. So I'm joined just by you, Kenny, and you are more than enough, my friend, because I know you've got some very similar thoughts on this to me, but some slightly different ones as well, which we're going to get into. How you been, mate?
I've been good. Had a good weekend. Bereft of the football, I'm very, very angry because each day, when we get news coming in from like the TV stations, Sky, mostly Sky, and little snippets from our football clubs, it's just bad news after bad news. And basically, one of the things I've noticed the last few days is that people who are meant to represent the fans and actually sell themselves as for the fans have done anything but defend their fans. Back up the fans. Be outraged on their behalf, because I think what's happened is over the last few days, I don't see, with the exception of yourself, anyone talking about the effect on fans. A lot of people is like, "Oh, I'm all right, Jack," or people are scared to be to upset the majority of people who are clearly mourning Her Majesty and wanting to raise a glass to His Majesty, King Charles. You can still be a royalist and still, or be like me, a lefty who has the odd Republican leanings and still respect the Queen. I respect Her Majesty, the late Queen Elizabeth II. I respect His Majesty King Charles, but I do have a view on it, and in terms of like the effect it's having on our beautiful game and effect on fans. Because at the end of the day, the theme of our discussion is, why isn't anyone speaking up for football fans, the match going fans? Why isn't anyone in football doing it? Why isn't anyone in with massive platforms doing it on behalf of the fans? Don't get me wrong, the Football Supporters Association has been brilliant this week, try and get some answers. But apart from them, they simply be doing it on their own. Individual fan groups of the clubs seem to be disinterested, and people with massive platforms seem to be, talking about the lack of football, to attend on TV, but they're mainly talking about the effects it have on them being able to put out on products, not about the fans, because it's all about the fans. Because at the end of the day, a majority of football fans, if you tell a football fan to attend a match at midnight, they'll attend it because they're football fans. But they shouldn't have to be able to be put up with this. They shouldn't have to be able to put up with postponements and just lack of information. It's like we've had to, make it up as we go along, and we're not the experts. And that's why I'm very, very upset. And I know you are as well, because, again, you've got different views of saying that. But my theme is, I'm always going to talk up football fans, especially match-going fans, because no one speaks up for them. I will. I don't have a massive platform, but I'll
100%,
speak up for
mate.
them.
The thing is, the excuse used the other day, like we were just talking backstage, you said that it was the Premier League, etc., etc. See, I have a slightly different take on that for the games being called off the weekend gone. The Premier League teams had a meeting with the representatives of all 20 clubs in the Premier League. The Premier League didn't just cancel the games; they would have had a meeting and a unanimous vote. Yeah, so them football clubs, all 20 of them, in my opinion, are the reason that got called off. The government said it could go ahead. Obviously, we see rugby go ahead, cricket went ahead, tennis went ahead, F1. I know some of these are based in other countries, but the cricket and the rugby were still going ahead perfectly well. So it was down to the Premier League and the football clubs to make that decision. When I read the statement out on here from the Premier League, it said, we've had a meeting with all of the Premier League clubs, the 20 Premier League clubs. They've decided, them Premier League clubs, actually, we've got a busy schedule coming up in October. Let's have a weekend off. So for me, I put that weekend just gone on the Premier League teams. Anyone who had a ticket for that game, in my opinion, whether they've booked travel, like Del Boy, for example, coming from Ireland. Yeah, and let's be real, Ireland's not a million miles away. It's not like somebody coming from Singapore, Korea, Australia, America, because there would have been fans coming from these countries to come and watch Arsenal, not just Arsenal, but other teams in the league. Anyone who's done that with a one-off standalone ticket, not on a season ticket, in my opinion, they should be hotting up the football club for every single penny of what they've lost. Because, you know, we see again, the boxing got called off, the women's boxing. Now think, right, there's people that travelled from America for the weekend for that boxing. They were probably already in England when that got told it was being cancelled. Now what do you do? Like, for me, I think it's an absolute disgrace. In terms of this particular game on Thursday, I just find it baffling, mate. And the reason I find it baffling is Chelsea's game on Wednesday is going ahead. Now, they're saying it's down to the lack of police. Well, there was 2 million people partying all around Carnival. 2 million people, were at Carnival over that weekend, whilst it was a bank holiday as well, by the way, which means there was more people coming into the centre of London and surrounding areas. Well, they managed to police that pretty well, didn't they? So, again, it's just another piss poor excuse to cancel football.
Well, the thing that makes me really angry is that you talk about the Premier League clubs, but amongst the Premier League clubs, you also got the Premier League. Now, every one of those 20 clubs has got a chief executive who gets paid between £750,000 a year up to 2 million in some cases. Plus, you've got Richard Masters, who's on about £3 million, or between £1.5 million and £3 million. Now, one of the reasons why these guys have got their jobs, one, at the end of the day, they're accountants. To be a chief executive of anything, you have to be an accountant because you have to deal with like budgets and figures, right or wrong. But also, one of the reasons why you get these jobs is because you have to have foresight. All right, not hindsight, foresight to know about these situations. Now, if we go back 25 years ago, when Princess Di died, even though she wasn't a practicing royal and she didn't have her Royal Highness, she was still a Queen of Hearts, and there was still a state funeral. Now, during that week, obviously, the royal family came out from Balmoral. It's all we know the story that the public weren't happy that the Queen wasn't showing emotion. But when they finally got it together, the funeral was on a Saturday. All resources, police resources, went towards that day. Not only did the police resources go towards that day, all the businesses were shut up until 2 o'clock for the funeral. Now, someone who's getting paid huge salaries would have known that this week coming was going to be a week of mourning, plus the funeral was either going to be on around the weekend or Monday. So they would have known that police resources, especially in the capital, would have been greatly needed. Hence the fact that football would have been affected. They would have known this because that's called foresight. Yet, instead of, like I said, using their common sense and knowing this is going to happen, they decided to cancel the games, postpone the games last week, knowing full well that football fans across the country had 3 issues. First issue, not all Arsenal fans live in Islington.
Yeah.
Not all Arsenal fans live in London. Not all Arsenal fans in the UK. Not to mention that Everton fans have got to come from Merseyside or North Wales or other parts of Lancashire. Not all fans live locally. So they've had tickets and hotels to come to these games. Not only that, the most patriotic members of the public out there are football fans, because a lot of football fans, dare I say it, are, like I said, have links to the national side. Some of them are very patriotic. Some might be, dare I say it, have conservative views. One of the most conservative views I know is the monarchy. So football fans would have loved to have paid a tribute to Her Majesty the Queen and raise a glass to His Majesty King Charles. Now, you're saying that if we don't have these games next week, and then we don't have the European games, so what happens on the 1st of October? The moment's lost. Don't you think the moment's lost for football fans to pay their tributes? And the other excuse, again, Liverpool fans would have, and Celtic fans would have, disrespected any tributes this weekend. Well, Liverpool Football Club have just sent an email to UEFA to ask if they'd be able to, not only have a minute's silence, but sing the national anthem, because UEFA and FIFA have an edict where they do not allow any sort of political stances, marches, or any sort of, songs or just gestures during their matches, FIFA and UEFA. So Liverpool have to make special dispensation. So someone in the Premier League has preempted that when Liverpool Football Club has just rubbished that. So again, these people should have had foresight, because don't get me wrong, we're not stupid. Us football fans who don't get paid, £750,000 a year up to 2 million, already worked out that the police were going to be needed especially in the capital because of police numbers. They know about the fact that clubs pay a massive bill in order to police these games for the safety of fans. So that if we knew that, how come someone in the Premier League didn't foresee this? Because we're not stupid. This isn't like a normal member of the public that, God forbid, if someone dies, because we're not financially well off, it normally takes about 5 or 6 weeks to have the funeral because of financial reasons, and also banks and building societies and legal reasons as well. But when you come from a high profile background and there's money involved, especially when you're billionaires, the funerals are normally within a week. Obviously, if you're come from the Islamic faith, they will like the funerals to be within 2 days. So it's all about foresight. Someone in football must have known that this week would have been affected. So there was no need for these games to be called off. You could have paid your respects last week because the government did not send an edict that football had to be cancelled last weekend. And neither did the police say anything either. It was down to the Premier League and the clubs. And they decided, wrongly, on this occasion, as a national game, to make that decision, a decision that is backfired. And when we're talking about backfired, it's basically, how do I say it? It's like opening them like the microwave, and all the food just splashes all over your face. And that could be eggs, scrambled eggs. It could be like baked beans, all over their face. They look pretty stupid now. They look stupid now, and they've got a lot of explaining to do to their fans, because the match-going fans, because we're angry. And dare I say it, fans who would like to say the games, because guess what? Match-going fans are not the only ones that look for the games. People who can't get the games love to put their feet up, have their Sunday lunch, and watch about 3 or 4 games. They've got a lot of explaining to do with football fans, the Premier League. And I can't wait for them to, explain themselves, because at the end of the day, they need to explain to every football fan and compensate every football fan for their tickets. Don't leave it to the clubs. You pay us. You pay us for the inconvenience. Doesn't matter whether we got our tickets back from the plane airlines, i.e. BA, or like I said, any of the budget airlines, or whether we got our tickets back from the respective train lines. Doesn't matter. We need an explanation and some sort of compensation, because there's no guarantee that we will get every penny we paid back. Who knows? We'll probably get about half of it back, or maybe we have to pay a fee to get it back to change the times. So explain yourselves to Premier League.
Mate, they all need to explain themselves. At the end of the day, we've seen this even before what happened with the Queen and that. We've seen how they just we played Man United on a Friday night at 8 o'clock at Old Trafford the other season. Yeah, just like that. 8 o'clock on a Friday night. Yeah, the amount of times they change games around for TV scheduling, is a disgrace in itself. Now, I understand they want to capture a bigger and wider audience and all of that, right? Which is why they pay billions of pounds to these Premier League clubs, and they basically they're the puppet on the string, the clubs, aren't they? A lot of the time. But the clubs have got to take responsibility for this as well. Because, like I said, the Premier League games, they had a meeting, Kenny. Yeah, and them clubs would, if they had all said, yeah, let's go ahead, they would have gone ahead at the weekend.
100%,
yeah?
100%.
So for me, anyone who's lost money from not being able to go to their game at the weekend just gone, they should be directly going and hitting up their football club, because there'll be people that will not be able to get their flight tickets back. The company will say, well, it ain't our problem. Yeah, the hotel, you ain't getting a refund on that unless you booked it on, for example, with a last-minute cancellation. Your ticket, the club are offering a way of, well, it's valid for the next time when it's rearranged, but the next time it's rearranged, you might not be able to go now.
Exactly, Lee. And that's the thing. You've got people who are coming from the Irish Republic. Now, I haven't spoken to Del Boy, but Walsh, Carl Walsh says he's definitely going to try and make it. But that's not the point. The fact is, if everyone knows that, like tickets are very scarce. Getting time off to go to the matches. That's one of the reasons why we love weekend matches, because it's very hard for fans to, get to these games during the evening, especially, evening games, in midweek. It's not easy, especially getting trains, because as I said before, not every Arsenal fan lives in Islington, and not every Arsenal Camden or Barnet or Haringey or even Hackney. They live further out. They could have a situation where they have a job, they might not be able to get a time of work, so they'll probably finish work about 5:30, probably get home, get changed. They may not be able to get the game, but they wouldn't have that issue on a Saturday. What about the retail workers who got the time off the weekend, can't get to the game? And we're not just talking about this weekend gone, next week as well. There's no consideration, because at the end of the day, football fans, especially members, silver members, red members, gold members, and platinum members, we come from all walks of life. You could be sitting next to a surgeon at the Emirates, or you could be sitting next to the guy who does the bings for Islington Council, or it could be the guy who works at Tesco's pushing the trolleys. You know what I mean? All walks of life, all got considerations. You have a guy who lives at home with his mum, has no family responsibilities, lives for his club, or you could have a guy with 2.4 children who has an understanding wife who will let them football, vice versa, an understanding husband. You're all making time to get to these games with very little consideration. And that's the thing, the consideration. Yes, it's what I'll call a unique situation, and it's a situation we never thought we were going to see, because we've only known the Queen. But saying that, you can just about bite your tongue if people explain themselves clearly and concisely regarding police numbers. But last week, that was a gesture which is falling on everyone's face and affected a lot of people, because it wasn't needed. They didn't need to make it. It doesn't matter whether you're going to offend few people. It doesn't matter. Half the people on Twitter now who are slagging me and you off. Do you want me to categorise them? I'll do it for you. Don't go to football no more. Used to have a season ticket, can't be bothered. Take it or leave it. All the ones who don't really go, take it or leave it. All the ones who don't want to go and think, it's not the be all and end all of everything. Yeah, what they complain about. And the Queen's more important. That's fair enough. But you don't have to appease to them and their sensibilities. You know what I mean? What about all the people who were royalists, the ones who were reporting Trevor Sinclair to TalkSport, trying to get him sacked, or slagging off Jedward, who are Irish Republicans for not showing any sort of
Celtic for not changing their badge on their Twitter account.
Their badge. Exactly. Yeah, slagging all these guys off. When it came to the fact that their football was being affected, boy, did they have a lot to say. They were angry. So it's all categories. All those people you're trying to appease, they're in a minority. No, I know people say, well, it's only Twitter. Twitter and social media only covers about 0.5% of the fan base. But you know what happens in this country when we have polls for upcoming elections. They speak to about 1,000 people and say, who would you vote for? Conservative, Labour, and everything. And then you get that kind of sort of barometer from there. And that's how the barometer I'm getting. Majority of football fans are not happy with the situation that occurred last week. And they're certainly not happy about the prospect of missing more games, because they know that these games have to be played before November the 10th. And they know full well they're going to have the condensed, fixture list in January, because there's no way any of these games are going to be played. Some are suggesting that we should postpone the Man City game.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, the Premier League.
Apparently, the Europa League games have to be done by the 3rd of November. The only way that is even physically possible is if we postpone the Man City game. We can't postpone the EFL Cup game that we have against Brighton, because I think the draw for that is right on top of Christmas for the next round. And the next round is literally the first week of January, I think. I think it's the first week of January.
There's no
way you can reschedule them EFL games, because then you've got teams playing in the next round while you're playing in the one behind.
Well, there's two solutions. There's two solutions. One you're not going to like, and one you're going to like. The first solution is if that does happen, Man City have to agree to it. Not only Man City have got to agree to it, but I believe is that game on Amazon. Now that's on Amazon Prime in the UK. If it's Amazon Prime in the UK, they've got to agree to it as well. So that's going to be a no from Man City because they don't want to have a they don't want to have like a condensed fixture list next month. So they're going to say no to that. And then Amazon, who pay loads of millions and millions of pounds for the rights, because they're probably only out of all the 38 games, they probably get back 3. So they're not going to mess up their program. And dare I say it, Man City and Arsenal is a daddy game for them. They're all going to show all the games live, but that is a daddy game that they're going to be able to, show the rights.
It gets worse though, Kenny, because the PSV game, if they don't agree to rescheduling it, so not only have we got to get Man City and Amazon to get on side, we've then got to get PSV to agree to it. If they refuse to agree to it, we're forfeiting the game and they get the win.
Well, and that's the situation and why I rang it, because at the end of the day, even though Arsenal Football Club and PSV want to play this fixture, the fact is they couldn't play it behind closed doors because they're saying, "Oh, you're still going to need a police presence." Again, I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to comment on that. The fact is the only prospect is that Arsenal will be forced to forfeit the game. I can't see any way of doing it because ultimately, even though Arsenal want to play the game, it's down to Arsenal. It's Arsenal's responsibility as the home team to fulfil that, to make sure that fixture's fulfilled and make sure that they have the right safety certificate from Islington Council and the right safety certificate from the Metropolitan Police. It doesn't. UEFA may show some empathy, PSV may show some empathy, but ultimately Arsenal are going to get punished for this because the other games in UEFA's competitions are being held. Spurs, Chelsea's game has been held. Chelsea have been able to fulfill that fixture. They're able to provide a safe certificate for that game. And
that's where I find this baffling, Kenny, right? And I know I might be just a typical thick numpty YouTuber that supports a football team. But how comes a team in West London can play their game, right? In the Champions League, we have fans coming from overseas to go into Stamford Bridge to cheer on their team. They can play their game. The next night, the exact same scenario, but in North London, can't go ahead. To me, it makes no sense.
So the thing is, I've been racking my brain. I've been thinking of reasons why Chelsea's game's going ahead and why not going. Now, the reasons I thought about was, well, Arsenal, the way we're situated in North London, in Islington, we're the closest, clubs to the West End in terms of like the Victoria line and the Piccadilly line. And maybe in terms of the influence of police and everything getting the grounds, that could be an issue, or the reputation of Dutch fans. But from I got friends who English friends, especially people at Leicester City. They said the Dutch fans were brilliant. They came in massive numbers.
Well, but this is a good comment here from Grassroots Football. He says it's because PSV are bringing more fans. Yeah, which is cool. Yeah, there was 2 million people strolling around London for the Notting Hill Carnival only a couple of weeks ago. 2 million people.
I know. That's the thing. There's 2 million people, but
where did they find police for that then?
Well, they have to have police for that for a simple reason. It's 2 million people. It's an event that they know about, and it's an event that whether the Conservative.
With all due respect, mate, they've known about the Champions League and the Europa League for weeks. And the police have obviously known about that. I know Carnival's slightly different because there wasn't a Carnival for 2 years, so there was going to be more people en masse.
I hear you saying.
We're talking thousands, not millions of people here. Yes, there might be millions of people coming from around the globe to pay their wishes and respects and condolences and that, right? But at the same time, I think, I heard something today that King Charles now has to go to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Yes, before they can lay his mum to rest. They've took her all the way up to Scotland to bring her all the way back down again in a couple of weeks, which is apparently procedure. I don't know because I don't take no interest in it, if I'm honest. But that's a lot of money, a lot of police resource being used there by him going around the country and travelling up to Scotland and back.
Lee, you know it is. You know it is as well. it's
I
him
know
as
that
well.
sounds selfish, Kenny, but I am being selfish with it. At the end of the day,
No, but
millions
look,
of people's enjoyment when this country, or that country, because I'm in Spain, has been on its knees for the last couple of years.
yeah.
Listen,
But
sad what happened. Nobody likes to hear of anybody passing away. But I feel like football clubs and the footballing authorities have just taken the piss easy way out here and just said, do you know what? Stitch all the fans up.
But you know what it is. I think one of the reasons why they've done that is because of the fact that they're a national game. It wouldn't be, and I think that's why I think they've lost their bottle. They think, well, rugby's not a national game, cricket's not a national game, you know, and boxing is really not a national sport. We feel that we have to do that because, you know, Her Majesty was the patron of the FA. And, you know, Prince William is the president of the FA. So they felt they had to do that. But again, Prince William is probably one of the, if you think of all the royals, so he's a passionate football fan. Now, obviously, he's going to be occupied with grief for his grandmother, and rightly so. But he spent a lot of time around football fans, attended a lot of cup finals. He's an Aston Villa fan. He knows football fans, not only are they passionate about their sport, they're very, very patriotic. Perhaps, now he wouldn't have attended the games, but this is an opportunity that's been taken away from patriotic football fans to show tribute to Her Majesty and, you know, express their sorrow. We're not going to get that opportunity, but that's not.
But then
That's
when
not
we
really a
boycott
major
them on the
thing for
1st
me.
of October, Kenny, it'll be again.
We're not going to.
Let's have a minute's silence. Let's do this. Let's do
Lee,
that.
Hasn't the moment gone? Hasn't the moment gone though? Yeah, but don't you think the moment's gone? And that's not disrespectful.
Yeah, the moment would have gone, but unfortunately, mate, most people on the planet are sheep. Yeah, and they're just going to all stand there and do it anyway, even though they've had their plans ruined for a month. They'll stand there and they'll still observe a minute's silence out of respect and all of that, which is cool. Everyone can do what they want.
I hear what you're saying, and I think what it is, right, is that it's one of those things where if you're going to show emotion and show some respect, you have to do it within the time, at the earliest possible time. And the earliest possible time was this weekend when it was raw in people's mind. Can you imagine the Emirates yesterday when we were playing Everton? Obviously, Liverpudlians, Scousers, do not have an affinity with the royal family, and they certainly don't have an affinity with the Conservative government. But can you imagine the majority of football fans at the Emirates, 60,000 fans? I'm convinced that we have had the 2-minute silence, and throughout the whole game, rather than singing Arsenal songs, people will be singing the national anthem throughout the game, because that's that is what football fans are about. We have football fans.
We're a football nation. Yeah,
we're a football nation.
A lot of people are patriotic, but I think I don't think it's anywhere near what it was. I remember when Charles and Diana got married, right? And I remember being lit. Well, I don't actually remember it because it was the year I was born. Right? But I remember my mum and dad. They had you know, when you put the cups on the tray and the little coasters, and all that, they had that with the pictures of their wedding and that. And I was just like, okay. And now I remember when she died, I was out doing a paper round. Yeah, and I've gone home and they're crying. Yeah, like when I spoke to my dad the other day, totally different views on it now. Like after all of these years, and it's like I don't think there's a lot of people that in England that genuinely don't care, and not just England. There are a lot of people.
There are a lot of people, and that's why I said that. And I think what's happened is that, you know, they're not you know, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, they're not allowed to express that more, or even their opinions. Say, well, what's going on here? What's the fuss? Because I think what's happened is that we say that, but because it's a queen, a lot of people who we thought weren't monarchists and weren't affected by this are being affected by this. You know, and I think I never thought in a million years that every TV station for the last few days, especially on a Sunday, on a Thursday, was going to be completely blacked out, virtually have no advertisements, and it was just all about the Queen and her life. Now that is carried on into the Monday, and that's what we're going to be getting a lot of times.
Mate, a friend of mine said to me earlier, he was listening to TalkSport. He lives in Seville. He said he had TalkSport on, because he wanted to see how they've handled the Trevor Sinclair investigation. I don't know what they needed to investigate. The tweets there for all to see. Like whatever, that's a different story. But he said that he was listening to Jim White and that lot this morning. Yeah, and they were talking about the Queen, and that was it. Just non-stop.
Why should they though? The thing about it is that
I get it, Ken, but at the same time, it's a sport channel. Yeah, you can pay your respects. They've done that all weekend. They've done that from when the news broke when we were watching the Europa League games. To continue that on, people, a lot of people. Go on.
No, what I'm trying to say is that I think what happens is that you have to be in the United Kingdom, you have to be in London, you have to be all over the country. I can categorically say, without any kind of exaggeration, and people in the chat who live in the UK would confirm what I'm saying. This is just, it's all about the royal family. Every program, you go on the major channels, ITV, BBC, and the BBC, and obviously Sky, which is now called themselves a major channel. It is all about the Queen, her life. You know, it's about Harry and Meghan being able to get the flowers. It is massive news coverage to the extent.
Oh no, I get that. I get that.
But you know, another issue that which we're going to touch on is that one of the issues that they're talking about was Sky may not be able to cover the games this weekend. Again, another bit of foresight that there should have been done, because you know their outside trucks are going to be needed because of the period of mourning. Because they've now said from today up until I think it's either today up until 6:30 on next Monday, there's going to be a period of mourning, because when the body, you know, like I said, comes to London, people are allowed to be around there to view, obviously be around to view it. But if they attend the, you know, like I said, the viewing of the Queen's body and everything, they're not allowed to, they are on a strict instructions not to take photographs, not have any handheld thing. It's a private situation. But there's going to be massive queues. People are going to stay overnight. So again, Sky are going to be filming that.
Well, we have breaking news, Kenny. Sorry to cut you off. Big up this chat as well. You lot are relentless in this chat. 1,600 of you watching live. Smash the likes up on Facebook as well. Share the stream around. Follow Kenny Ken 1972 on Instagram. The Premier League have released a statement which is as follows. Fixtures will resume this weekend after a pause as a mark of respect following the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Premier League fixtures will resume this weekend after a pause. 7 of the 10 Premier League fixtures will go ahead this weekend, with 3 matches postponed due to events surrounding the Queen's funeral. In addition, kickoff times will change for 2 Premier League matches. Guess who those are? Matches postponed on Sunday, the 18th of September, this Sunday, are Chelsea's match against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge and Manchester United's home match against Leeds. That one makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. But anyway, let's carry on. Brighton and Hove Albion's fixture to Crystal Palace was not due to be played. At 3 o'clock on Saturday, the 17th, will also remain postponed. It was cancelled anyway. So on Friday, there's 2 games on Friday. Aston Villa, Southampton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, both at 8 p.m. on Friday. Saturday, 12:30 kickoff, Wolves, Man City. 3 o'clock, Newcastle, Bournemouth. Late kickoff, Spurs, Leicester. And then postponed was Brighton Palace. Sunday, Arsenal away to Brentford is now a 12 p.m. kickoff, not a 2 p.m. kickoff. And then Everton versus West Ham is a 2:15 kickoff. It says following extensive consultation with the club's police, local safety advisory groups, and other relevant authorities, there is no other option but to postpone those 3 fixtures. The Premier League would like to thank the UK Footballing Policing Unit and other police forces around the country, as well as our broadcast partners, for their support during the process, and we'll continue to liaise with them ahead of the games. Well, listen, at least we've got a game. At least we can watch for you. You've got a ticket as well, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I've got a ticket, but you know what's happening? The time I was meant to come in, it's going to be like a bit of a schlep, because I'm meant to meet some mates at 10:30. So we're going to have to, make some other arrangements, as you can see, you know, in terms of travel. So I am pleased, but I am still frustrated on the fact of other fans. I know people say, Ken, what are you complaining about? You got your football. Yeah, but the game was maybe at 2 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. And I am grateful that common sense has prevailed. And I can understand that the reason why the game at Brentford is currently going to be on at midday is probably, and I say probably, all to do with the fact that it could be, well, I'm getting loads of messages now from people now telling me what's happened. It's all to do with the fact that, you know, the quicker they can get the Brentford game done and dusted, the quicker they can get their police numbers sorted. So that's got to be the only explanation I can think of. Saying that, it's still a frustration to me. Still a massive frustration that, you know, that this has happened. But one thing is, at least our fans, our beautiful, wonderful away fans, can get to the game. And, you know, they're giving us ample time. So the Premier League have actually pulled their finger out and redeemed themselves. However, on behalf of Chelsea fans and Man United fans, I'm frustrated on their behalf, very frustrated on their behalf, because what that smacks off, the Chelsea game, and the time it's being said, basically, there's that two things would have occurred at the Chelsea game. One would have been the police issue. Obviously, they, for some reason, bizarre reason, Chelsea and Liverpool has become this massive game, and there's this massive rivalry that I never noticed in the 80s.
Because of the ghost goal, mate. The ghost goal.
Yeah, it goes goal. And even when they were Chelsea were dominating football under Mourinho, Liverpool were nowhere near them. All right, Liverpool win the odd game. I thought it was just I didn't realise that they had this massive rivalry, but they have a massive rivalry, and that game's going to be called off. So, you know, it looks like Potter's first game is going to be Wednesday.
I think there's a train strike or a tube strike this weekend as
well.
No,
all the strikes have been called off. All the strikes are off.
Oh, they've called them off as well. Okay, that's nice.
All the train strikes were called off. There's engineering works.
So this game, so where is it? Where's this other game? So this Palace Brighton game that's not a derby, but they like to force it as a derby.
Oh, it's
that could have gone ahead after all. Then,
sorry, Jack. I know Jack Ramsey watches our show, but sorry,
but that
Jack.
could have gone. That could have got and Diego as well. We got Palace Diego, but that game could have gone ahead, then, couldn't it? Because it's not a derby, and the only reason they called it off.
But in terms of logistics,
in Brighton.
No. In terms of logistics, they've already made their decision, and they've already probably rescheduled for another day. So that was always going to be off. Another thing as well is less headache for the Premier League. At least, you know, to try and schedule probably all 10 games is going to be a headache. But the Man United game was a game that I was hearing on a grapevine that was going to be called off, and I was thinking, why was that? And then someone explained to me that the reason why that game's going to be called off because, you know, forces around Greater Manchester Police, they're probably going to be needed in London because it's a day before the funeral, and they're going to be needed in London to do their rehearsals. And I'm hearing that all 40 police authorities in England are going to be needed in London. So in terms of like the resources for the Man United Leeds game, we only have to look at what happened last season. It was the first Premiership game last season. Leeds fans ran amok around Salford and the surrounding areas of Manchester. So we're not pork chops. We kind of expected that to be like a hotbed of confrontation. But saying that, I am happy that, you know, common sense has prevailed. But let's hope that football fans making their voices being known, and pressure from decent people with football, and pressure from the TV stations, because BT Sport, they're not covering the funeral. All they're covering is their matches. So hopefully they will put pressure to make sure that game's going to go ahead. I'm sure all the other stakeholders within the Premier League, i.e. our foreign cousins from, you know, Australia, United States, Africa, Asia, would have said, hang on here. If you postpone another game, we want a rebate. And I hope that got into the Premier League's thick heads.
Well, there should be a rebate anyway. And like you said right at the very top of the show, where are all these big accounts, big channels? Like where are the the club representatives, like working on behalf of fans, the AST in Arsenal's case, like the supporters trial? Where are they? Have they come out of anything? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. The only people who've done that is the Football Supporters Association, but their stance is a lot of it's to do with football fans not getting the opportunity to pay their respects. But, you know, there were in the bits I read, they were talking about other situations like train fares, tickets, everything. So again, I am like hopeful that, you know, pressure groups were going to be successful, because, you know, my reel that I did on Instagram, I was calling all football fans to let their voices be heard, showed their dissatisfaction to the Premier League, and hopefully the Premier League will realise this. But from a football perspective, it's not success, because I wanted all 10 games to be going through, because I'm a gooner, right? And we all know that. You're a gooner, everyone's a gooner. But I'm for football fans in general. And whether we like it or not, free 6 sets of fans have missed out because of this situation. I won't say Crystal Palace and Brighton fans, but Man United fans and Leeds fans have missed out. Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans have missed out. So we haven't been successful in the pressure we raised in order to get all the fixtures done. So in a way, we failed, in my opinion, because every fan should have that experience of, paying their respect to Her Majesty.
Well, the thing is as well is it just goes to show, how there's not enough police to staff all of these events. Yeah,
not at all. But there's not enough police numbers anyway.
It's a one-off that a queen passes away. I understand that, but if there's going to be millions of people flying into the UK en masse, and it just goes to show as soon as millions of people all hitting an area in one go, bang, the whole country's grind into a hole. That in itself needs a reevaluation, mate. Yeah, because you can't just have a few million people flying in from around the world and the whole country grinds to a hole. No, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, the situation is for me is that in respect of all of that, I'm going to just look at it this way. One of the reasons that we haven't touched on as well is that we know that President Biden is intending to attend the funeral. So that's United States. I wouldn't be surprised if Macron from France comes along. Members of the EU.
The dignitaries will be there, mate.
What about all the? And remember, you've got the royal families across Europe as well. You've got the King of Sweden, the Swedish royal family going to attend, Belgian royal family going to attend, the Dutch royal family, the Danish royal family. So all of the European countries that have a royal family, Spain as well, they will attend. So again, it's one of those things where, again, I always use the word foresight. Someone who gets paid, £750,000 a week, per year, or £2 million a year, must have realised that, or probably looked in and said, right, these are scenarios. If we cancel games this weekend that's got on, there's a huge prospect that there's going to be a funeral next week, and there's a huge prospect that police numbers won't be enough in order to police our games because they're going to be needed elsewhere for, members of the public to express their sympathies, and also dignitaries who are going to need protection to come to our country to mourn and attend the services and any state dinners afterwards, where they're going to need close protection. Someone in football needs to lose their jobs, because at the end of the day, they got a responsibility.
They should have a backup plan. And I know this isn't like an out there thing that's happened. It only happens once in our lifetimes. This is the first time we've seen since we were born, Kenny. She was the queen, right?
Yeah.
But there should be some kind of backup plan that if millions and millions of people hit this country en masse, that all of a sudden we have to continue with sporting events, we have to continue with our day-to-day lives, and we have to continue with the backup plan. What is the backup plan? The backup plan to me just seems like it's, okay, we've sod it. What we do is, because there's millions of people going to travel around the country to go and watch football, well, we just cancel that. The national game, we'll just cancel that. It don't matter if people are flying from abroad to come and watch it, or coming from Newcastle down to Arsenal, or in this case, for us, it's only going around the corner to Brentford. But it don't really matter, does it? Because we'll just cancel that, because now we don't have to have all the police there policing these games all around the country for every single one of the 92 and more. Yeah, that all the way down into grassroots football, they're going to still have security, I'd imagine. Yeah, at some level, maybe not right at the bottom level. You know what? A contingency plan for stuff like this. What is the contingency plan? Where's the army?
There isn't one, Lee.
Why can't they draft the army?
Lee, sadly, there isn't one.
Maybe I'm just being a bit salty, Kenny. I don't know.
No, Lee, the fact is that the fact is that there shouldn't be an assumption that everyone in football, especially football fans, are just going to happily turn up these matches whenever they're scheduled. And all right, you know what? There's no trains on Boxing Day. But I'll tell you what, we'll have a 12 o'clock kickoff between Arsenal and Brighton. Oh, and by the way, Arsenal fans have got to go to to Brighton's ground to these games at 12 o'clock. Don't worry, you'll make it. You'll be fine. I'm sure you're going to make
and
it.
The whole reason that football was put on Boxing Day, because it used to be played on Christmas Day, was because there was no transport. And now there's no transport really on Boxing Day. What's the difference?
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons and that's one of the things I always said. The football fan who attends these games, how are they going to get to these games if, and I say big if, there's no trains? Because there is no trains. As far as I've known, probably for about maybe 20 years, and I've spoken to 12 drivers, and I said, how comes you don't have services on Boxing Day? They said, well, because they won't give us the overtime. We used to have trains on Christmas Day and Boxing Day because we knew that a lot of football fans used to go to these matches. So in the 80s, because there were games on Boxing Day, they were running trade services. It was Boxing Day was a bank holiday, but because they wouldn't give them overtime, they've had to make their own way to games, maybe through the coaches. Because I know National Express, they run coaches, and you have to book them in advance. But they do caper for football fans if they want to get to their respective area cities to go and watch these games. I know that people who live in Sussex, they can still go to these football matches via train because of the Heathrow and Gatwick Express. I know that I think Victoria, they have the Heathrow Express as well. So they're the only ones. Anyone else who happen to live in, say, Norfolk, but as an Arsenal season ticket holder, will not be able to get to the game unless they're making their own way there. Unless they're getting the National Express.
Look at when we played Newcastle. I remember Claude, bless him, left at I think 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning because it was a 12 o'clock, half 12 kickoff, wasn't it? Yeah, and then by the time the games got played, and he's come out and got on the coach, I think he got back about 11 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's by going by coach for a 12:30 kickoff at Newcastle. Now imagine it. I know it's an extreme case, because it is, I think, the longest distance in the Premier League. Newcastle, Southampton. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's not down to the Premier League to get all these people to the game. Of course, it's not, and you choose to go to the game. But at the same time, there has to be a lot more respect for these fans, Kenny, because cancelling games willy-nilly without a care. Like, I want to know who is going to refund all of the people that are missing out on that PSV game. Who is refunding these people? Yeah, who is refunding the people that missed out on the game against Everton at the weekend? Who's refunding them?
I'll tell you what Arsenal Football Club said to us. Arsenal Football Club said a message, a reminder that the game's not going ahead, and they said that any fan who have given their ticket towards the ticket exchange, that ticket will still be valid on the ticket exchange, and you will not be able to use that ticket again. That's the only thing they've said. They've given us no information regarding any compensation. It's like, well,
yeah, but Kenny, this is where fans now need to take the reins. Yeah, and by the way, there's 1,500 people watching this, and there's nowhere near enough likes on this. You lot are moving like the Premier League. Yeah, so make sure that we're on 400 likes. 1,000 you ain't even hit like. Disgusting behaviour.
Come and get your likes in. It's important.
72 as well on Insta. Yeah. But for me, this is where fans need to take the reins now. This is where fans, and I put this on my Instagram the other day, and I see some fucking knob always talks about me. It's like, oh, cheered like they'd won the lottery when I got suspended on Twitter. Yeah, but I trend on Twitter every day because of the very same people. It's like, why'd you keep clipping me? Like, you're actively clip this, motherfuckers. Yeah, clip this. You're all weirdos. But my point is, this is where fans now need to take hold of this and say, do you know what? We're sick of being effed about. We're sick of it. Yeah. So when the next shirt comes out and they wheel out righty again with another training kit, don't buy it. Yeah, don't buy it.
I think the problem is
buy it, Kenny, because it's their club and it's like they feel closer to the club by wearing the merch. They will go.
Hear what you're saying, Lee.
I say to you, don't go to the game on Brentford at the weekend. You're like, bollocks, Gunner, I'm going. I want to see my pals. So I get it. I do get it. And I've said to you many times, stop going. And you were like, it's in me, man. I've been doing it since a kid.
Lee, that's the problem. The problem football has got is football is very good at covering all the bases. Now, football clubs know full well that a match-going fan is so fed up with their ways that they're only just going to watch the match. They're going to get a ticket for the match. If they want to get a burger, I'm not going to buy your burgers at the Emirates. They're going to buy your burger. They're going to buy your burgers around the corner, maybe at McDonald's around the corner, or Burger King, even though the Burger King's closed down. So they probably go to Burger King Upper Street. So fans have got
outside the ground.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. So what's happening right now is that a lot of football fans probably don't even wear the merchandise. Match going fans, especially as they get older, don't wear colours.
The match day ones.
They don't wear colours. You know, Afsal, our good friend Afsal, does not wear colours. You know, if it's cold now, I used to be like, you know, wear colours all the time. I don't wear colours most games, home and away.
Would you have been known as merchandise man, Kenny?
No, I think actually, a good friend of it. No, a good friend of mine.
I see it on your Instagram.
Yeah, Finchley Park. Yeah, I saw Ty at Finchley Park, and he's very much a merchandise man. I just want to say, go on record, that the biggest Arsenal fan amongst these super fans is him. So, are you fans from other clubs or even Arsenal fans, show this guy respect, because this guy attends every Arsenal game. And not just the first team, he attends the reserves, the under-23s, the WSL matches. This guy is Mr. Arsenal, man. Treat him with respect and treat him with reverence.
Do you know what? He's a nice fella as well. Regardless of
he's a nice fella.
He is actually a genuinely nice bloke.
Not he's a nice fella. He's forgotten more about the club than you lot know. Just another thing as well. He's, like I said, he's a year older than me, and as someone who's in my age, you show respect for your elders, you little pricks.
Facts, absolute facts. But for me, Kenny, like I know it's difficult when you've got a ticket and like you go week in, week out. Yeah, but like somebody put a comment in a minute ago saying it's like the Super League all over again, really. I can't see it, I can't find it now, it's too far back. But they were saying like this is basically the same as the Super League. Yeah, which it is. They don't care. They didn't care then, they don't care now. The only reason
they're not going to care. They're not going to care anyway. They're not going to care because simple reason is that.
Do you think? Sorry to cut you off, mate. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah. Do you think if we was in the Super League now, do you think any of these games would have been cancelled against AC Milan or against PSG or against Madrid? Do you think they would have cancelled that? Hell no. They wouldn't have cancelled that.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't have done it because of the situation. But in terms of like,
and that's my point. Disdain for the fans, as always, mate.
Yeah, but one thing about football clubs, right? Football clubs are probably the best psychologists out there. The reason why I call them great psychologists because they know the fans inside out. They know loyalty. They know everything. You know, they know full well if they went up to a football fan and said, "Right, we've got you on CCTV. You've been out of order here. You've been flinging your fists about. We're gonna redact your season ticket." They know full well that fan is going to burst into tears and beg forgiveness and do anything to get that ticket back. They know that. They know full well as long as that fan can afford. They know full well that can, as good as, talk down to that fan because he'll put up with it. And that's the thing with football fans, right?
And that's exactly what they did this season. You've paid 4% extra on your season ticket this season because you want to go and watch the games.
Exactly.
Yeah, so 4%.
They know I'm a sure thing.
I'm 40 quid.
I'm a sure thing. That's the thing. That's the thing about football fans. Football fans, the only time a football fan might go to a game is if there's a funeral involving a family member. And even then, they'll have the radio on when the funeral's on. Or if their wives, you know, so, yeah, can you accompany us to wedding night? They'll go. But I'll tell you one thing, there'll be bloody murders and probably a divorce afterwards. Because ultimately, football fans go to every game. We are a sure thing. We're a sure thing. The only thing that stops football fans from going to games is if, God forbid, they lose their life. We'll just run out of money. And even then, they'll take the club up on the loan system that they basically sell, where basically, yeah, we'll give you £1,000, but you have to pay us £100 a week, £100 a month. And some fans will do that because they don't want to miss that. You know, God bless his soul, Claude. You know, there were instances when, you know, we always thought, oh, Claude, how's he, you know, he might not be able to afford to go to this game and that game, but he made it. We always, and that's the thing, because Arsenal had him there. He found a way to get the games. To the extent that, you know, our friend Lily is inherited his platinum ticket because Claude can't miss an Arsenal game. I can't miss an Arsenal game, and that's that. And that I'm just two people, but there's other football fans as well. I mean, Hugo, you know, at Chelsea, you know, he's one of those people that goes to every Chelsea game. I always see him on TV.
Same as Rolfie. Rolfie's everywhere.
Yeah, Rolfie as well. Rolfie, and then you've got Francis family that go Chelsea away. Becky as well. They can't miss games, and they're all Chelsea. There's Chelsea people now, and then we got, you know, Ty won't miss a game, you know, and that's the thing, and that's one of the reasons why no one speaks up for those guys. No one speaks up for Becky, not Francis, you know, Hugo, Ty. You know, especially when they're inconvenienced because of the games, because they're seen as a sure thing. And I think football, in general, and I think football influencers should speak up for these guys.
Oh, Kenny, you've got more chance of winning the Euro Millions, mate. Yeah, these
I know.
influencers. Yeah, I don't even like the word influencer anyway, but these people are influencers. Yeah, I don't class myself as an influencer. I'm giving my opinion. These people are actively fucking playing on a dumb, thick fan base. Most of the people that watch this channel are over 30. Yeah, I can see it on my analytics. I guarantee if you go and look at some of the other channels, it's about 18. Yeah, and they are young, impressionable, looking for some sort of guidance into the football club they've only just started supporting for a decade or so. Yeah, whereas most of the people in this chat are over the age of 25, 30. Yeah, and it's like, I just look at it and I think, you know, these people ain't interested in anything, the sponsorship deals, mate. If it hurts their pocket, yeah, they ain't saying nothing. Where all like the other day when the Queen passed away, I've seen fan cams from other channels and that saying, oh, I felt so upset. Yeah, well, if you felt that upset, why'd you stay for the second half and do a fan cam then? Why don't you fuck off home and cry? Like, well, it's because it was a traction thing. And unfortunately, Kenny, we live in an era on social media where people will post stuff out just to get traction. Yeah, just like, so if the Queen passed away, nobody's mentioned the Queen all year. But now she's died. Oh, now we're going to jump on that because that gets loads of likes.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. You've got to remember one thing is that initially, when you first come into social media, you first have your YouTube channels or handles, you don't have media training. But what happens is that you basically what I call guinea pigs, or you're basically everything you do is a litmus test, where you basically check. You know when we used to do chemistry, you basically put the pink paper into acid to see if it changes color, litmus acid and the litmus acid. Well, it's the same with you social media handles or YouTube channels. The fact is that you're quick learners. You know what's happening there because there's big money now in social media. People are now having got advisors who basically tell them, "Oh, don't have him on. He swears too much. Oh, don't have him on. He's friends with Lee Gunner. Oh, don't have him on because he, you know, he don't get enough views. Oh, yeah, say this and say that. And yeah, by the way, yeah, don't reply to that that guy on Twitter. Don't get involved in any Twitter spats.
And at the end of the month, just send me an invoice and I'll drop the money in your bank.
And that's exactly what's happened is that everyone who has a YouTube channel is a quick learner. You know, the biggest fan cam we have with that is definitely have advisors. I'm sure the blonde-haired lad who supports Man United has got about 3 or 4 channels. He's got an advisor. I'm sure, you know, people at, you know, the clique, they have advisors, or maybe they advise each other. But no one wants to upset anyone in football. No one wants to speak on anyone's behalf because, 1, it doesn't make him any money. 2, most importantly, those people that can see through that, especially maybe some of them, they think, well, hang on, you don't really care about us. You just care about, you know, your pockets or maybe the attraction, which they're entitled to do. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. You run a business, and I don't care what anyone says. I'm not criticising anyone because I think you'd be pork chops not to harm your business. If you're running this business, it's successful.
No, I totally get that.
Real public. You can't be controversial.
I see somebody say something. Yeah, but controversial, Kenny, is saying the truth in this era.
All right, you can't be offensive then, or offend, or have.
Yeah, but Kenny, if you're going to live your life by trying not to offend people, you're never going to fucking speak because somebody's always offended by everything nowadays. And that is how cancel culture's worked over the last 25, 30 years. When I was little, my mum and dad used to give me a slap across the backside if I stepped out of line, or a wooden spoon across the hand. You do that now, social services are coming. Yeah, you're going to jail. Yeah, and the kid's going into care. Yeah, because, you can't do that. No, look at the country. It's being run like teenagers just running amok. You can't touch them. Yeah, what can you do to them now? Yeah, we're running around with knives and guns and all of that. Yeah, and this is the problem when you've got these little busybody do-gooders, the lovies and all of that. Yeah, They'll want to start, oh, when I'm offended by this, well, fucking don't watch it then. Yeah, like,
unfortunately, the problem we have is that because of a lot of people who run these channels now, one of the things that they want, two things they want as many adverts to go out so they can make money and they need subscribers. However, the golden ticket is sponsorship, and you know nowadays.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm not sponsor friendly, Caddy, because I sit here, I swear, I'll have a beer, I'll smoke on camera, and I'll just say what I think. These people,
but the thing is, you're relentless.
Go down the route of when Arteta got the job, just jump on the bandwagon, or say what I said and say no, I ain't backing him. But then when he won the FA
you're
Cup,
relentless though. You work hard though.
Actually, I've got it wrong. My channel would be double the size. I'd be earning double the money because I'd be getting double the views. But I ain't going to do that. I'm going to say what I believe in. Unfortunately, mate, most of these people that have these accounts, yeah, they don't say what they believe in. They'll jump on any traction that they can get, whether it's about the Queen, whether it's about another football club, whether it's about referees and VAR, whether it's about I don't know, the manager, whatever. Like if you want them to give you an Arteta meltdown after Everton, they'll all give you an Arteta meltdown after Everton. Damari Gray.
Can I give one example?
You an Arteta love fest, they'll do that until it's unfashionable, and then it's the pendulum swings.
Can I give you one example? Can I give you one example of what they're saying? I'm not going to mention the person's name, but there was an incident at the beginning, an incident that we were aware of that occurred last July. Now, me and you knew about it, and then it became it was knowledge to a lot of people on YouTube, but people kept quiet out of respect and out of not wanting to be a grass, and then it became public knowledge through the government website in January. Like, let me finish.
Yeah, go on. So
obviously, you and your partner thought, right, I'm latching on to this out of revenge. You got a lot of traction from it. That's fair enough. That's it. People might have done it differently, but the thing that got me was that there was a guy who was running a channel, and he supports one of the Northwest clubs, a very small left Northwest club, even though it was in the Premiership at the time. Try to put pressure on other people to talk about it because they showed respect for the law and kept quiet. Because that little rat decided, made that protestation that people weren't speaking about it. All these other YouTubers, who, by the way, were heavily sponsored, thought, I feel I have to talk about it. No, you didn't. But because of him and because of your sponsors, you felt you had to condemn it.
Fact.
And that is the world we live in now.
Well, look at Trevor Sinclair. That's the prime example, right? Trevor Sinclair has obviously got his own opinion on the monarchy and all of that, yeah? Right? He felt that strongly about it that he tweeted it out. Whether he was drunk, high, or both, or not had a drop or anything in terms of narcotics, right? He felt that strongly about it. He put it out there. TalkSport then hotted him up all over their Twitter page. He then deactivates his account. The next day, he puts issues an apology. I said this to Rance the other day. If I'm so strong on something, am I apologizing? Yeah, but why should I apologize for what I believe in? Yeah, and it's the same when it comes to Arsenal, right? Whether you think Trevor Sinclair's right or wrong is irrelevant. If he felt that strongly about something, and he does, because I've seen his Twitter before, and he clearly does, yeah, then why the fuck are you apologizing? He's been apologizing because his agent probably phoned him up and said, you ain't going to get any work anymore, mate. Yeah, so now he's thinking of his pocket.
That is the thing. You have to accept that is that when people call you guys influencers, you don't like the title, but unfortunately, there are people who are who follow you, and I hate the word influencers. I mean, come on, you mean you got those lost souls who go on that pathetic program every summer where they all look the same. They all look the same. All have the same suntan. The women all paint their toenails the same, and they got all tans, and they all pair together, and they do the I'm going to live together for 2 years. That nonsense. And they all of a sudden they have Instagram accounts that have got 1K, and then all of a sudden they're all 2.1K, and they get work as influencers. But unfortunately, you know, a lot of young people do watch a lot of social media. They don't watch TV. You know, they don't watch the news. You know, they don't watch EastEnders. They don't even own the TV. They watch everything on here. On here.
I just want to highlight this comment very quickly. Big up to this guy. This guy is a bad influencer. Yeah, I mean, it's tragic, mate. I mean, how dare I promote winning titles and promote being the best? I mean, how dare I? I mean, in 2022, you can't do that, mate. It's seen as toxic. Yeah, the aim of elite sport, mate, is to win the titles and the trophies. But you've grown up in an era, judging by that comment, where you do the egg and spoon race at school. And even if you came last, you're getting a certificate and a medal, mate. And your parents are going, it's the taking part that counts. Anyway, would you like a sweet bagel and a chai latte? Yeah, fuck off, man. Seriously. Yeah, these people are. These people
you got a great point, but unfortunately, look, we're in a situation now that the problem we have in this country is that it's all about free speech. A lot of people
until it offends someone.
Yeah, that's the thing. The thing about it is that, you know, don't talk about it's. I've got a problem with the word free speech, like I've got the word soft foul. Soft fouls. When you call something a soft foul, the minute you use the word foul, the argument's lost. Just forget it. Stop talking. And the same with free speech. Don't advocate free speech, and then when people have an alternative view, as we've seen this weekend, or this week just gone, a few days, cancel them. You can't have it both ways. You either have free speech, you don't. If you don't have free speech, then stop talking about free speech. All right? Stop it.
Facts. All right, listen, big up to everyone who's watched this live. We are going to wrap this up. Obviously, we do have a game on Sunday now. Yay! We've got 6 more days until we play Brentford. Anyone who's joined late, the game against PSV has been called off for policing issues. There's not enough police to police it. The game against Brentford is going ahead now, and it will kick off at 12 p.m. on Sunday. So we do have one game to look forward to this week. And then after that is some boring international, Nations League? I mean, is anyone
Come on, you love it. You love it. Come on. Aren't you going to love it? Come on, Lee.
I can't watch international
Germany,
Germany at
Wembley.
No, even when it's a tournament. My youngest brother, is Club Wembley, yeah? He goes all over the world watching England. I'm like, what the hell are you doing watching this crap, mate? Like, real talk. You've got people like Harry Maguire in the team. Like, come on.
Does he enjoy it?
He loves it.
Yeah, there we go. He loves it then.
He loves it. But yeah, man, I can't watch that. Even when the Euros was on, I hardly watched any of the games. Yeah,
not even the final.
Yeah, I watched the final. Yeah, and I watched the odd game here and there, but it was shit. It was boring, man. Like when you watch Premier League football week in, week out, every season for years and years, and it's fast, it's quick, and then you go and watch slow, boring, methodical crap.
Are you going to do any content during the World Cup?
Probably not.
You sure?
I'll just be doing transfer news, mate. I'll just be up. The way I'm looking at this World Cup, yeah, I'll watch a little bit here and there, but I won't be watching every game like when I was a kid. Yeah, because football compared to when I was a kid is complete chalk and cheese. Yeah, like it's not about skillful footballers anymore. It's about athletes. Yeah, and it's more about the system and being an athlete. When I watch international football, I just look at it, I think this is fucking dog shit. Like you've got teams that were getting walloped 10-0, 9-0, 8-0 when I was a kid that are still getting walloped 7, 8, 9, 10-0 now. Just fucking turn it in. You ain't got any better in 30 years. Like, seriously, no disrespect to teams like San Marino and Gibraltar and all of that, but they ain't got any better, Kenny.
No,
so why don't you just have their own little tournament where they all play against each other and try and get better or something? Like,
well, cricket does it. Cricket does it. Cricket tends to, they have before any like the T20 World Cups or the 50 over World Cup, which they're trying to get rid of, they will have a sort of qualifying tournament in order that the best teams will get to the actual main tournament in cricket. But as I said before, man, I think the Premier League has done a very good job on you as a fan, because I think because the Premier League is so well promoted, followed by the Champions League, is that we don't appreciate international football. In fact, we hate it. We see it as an inconvenience until the major tournaments happen in the summer. But I just hope the World Cup is going to get the love and care that it normally gets, because a lot of football fans like you are going to see it like an inconvenience because it's that in December and November. So yeah, November, December.
Yeah, the thing is, the way I'm going to use November and December Because normally November, December, we have game after game after game in the Premier League, especially like around Christmas time, didn't we? Yeah, and it's like, so I'm just going to use that as like it's like a mini summer for me. Even though it's winter, it's going to be a mini summer. I'm just going to upload one video a day, and I'm done. Yeah, 20-minute upload, 30-minute upload, and that'll be it. And I can just enjoy my winter.
All right. So every channel that's not worth its salt is going to do a watch along with the World Cup final between England.
Of course, mate. There'll be thousands of channels doing
except for you.
Except for me, I'm going to sit there watching that crap, bored out of my box, watching Gareth Southgate ball. Nah.
True. You've got a point there.
Southgate ball is terrible. That's saying.
Nice. Well, Arteta ball, I don't know. He's getting. I don't know. For some reason, Granit Xhaka is a player that I don't recognise under this current rate.
Kenny, we said this last season for 8 games, and then he two-footed someone and got a straight red card.
I know. I think the thing with Granit Xhaka is that we all have this sort of, we expect something to go wrong, and it's like me with Man United. That I know Man United ain't great, but I have sort of Stockholm syndrome when it comes to Man United because of all the freshness they used to give us back in the 90s and the early 2000s. So I still think they're a top side, even though I know deep down they're very ineffective and very mediocre. But I still fear them. You know what I
mean? Yeah, facts. Kenny, what you got coming up? There's some boxing this weekend in there. Obviously, you got Arsenal now.
I've got Arsenal.
Canelo's fighting, isn't he?
Yeah, Canelo, but I don't know if I'm going to stay up for that because I'd rather concentrate and getting the Brentford Arsenal.
Yeah, that's like a 5 a.m. job, isn't it?
Yeah. One thing is that I suppose the only thing I've got to look forward to apart from the football is this podcast. So I'm assuming we're going to do it at the same time next week. Oh, it's Queen's funeral.
Oh, no, it'd be the same. Oh, mate, it'd be the same time every week, every Monday, whether there's a funeral, whether there's a lockdown. Yeah, next Monday, mate. Everyone's going to be all over their Insta pages, their Twitter, their YouTubes, and I'm going to be sitting there doing a podcast with you and Jez, mate. Yeah, so anyone who is interested in football and not interested in that, feel free to come here again 5 p.m. next Monday.
Lee, should I get that little rod, that little fishing rod? When's the podcast? Knowing full well it's going to be next Monday. So get a rod out.
Call some whoppers. Yeah, so next Monday, make sure you come and join in. Very quickly before we wrap up, no Ben Eubank. I see you put it on your Instagram. What do you make of that, mate?
Well, Chris Eubanks Jr., Senior, is a very, very strange individual. I mean, he's waited till virtually the 11th hour to realise that it wasn't a good idea. I mean, I was only saying it, what a bad idea it was the last couple of months when I first heard it. I first heard this nonsense being paraded in July. But everyone says, shouting me down, it'll be a great fight. I mean, can you imagine it? Your son fighting at a catchweight. Your son's virtually like a super middleweight fighting a welterweight. I mean, that's a great idea. Hopefully we have him at his word, but again, it's not good for boxing fans because they've sold tickets, they're trying to sell the pay-per-views, and he's done it 11th hour. It's not a good look for Chris Eubank Jr., and it's going to make boxing fans turn more away from Chris Eubank Jr. because he was meant to fight Golovkin in 2016, and then he did, because of ticket prices, or they want to put up the pay-per-views and the prices, they pulled out. Kell Brook took over. So it's very, very difficult to see take the Eubanks seriously when it comes to boxing. They talk about wanting to fight for world titles, yet he's always seems to have big fights, which are non-world title fights. So this is another nail in the reputation of Chris Eubank Jr. on behalf of Chris Senior. Well done, Chris.
Right. There you go. Facts. Listen, it's been a pleasure having you on as always, mate. Make sure you
enjoy myself.
1972 on Instagram.
We have Jess back next week, so like I said, hopefully we'll be analysing our victory at the G-Tech Stadium. I was going to say Griffin Park, but the G-Tech Community Stadium.
Man said, "Who's the best manager, Southgate or Arteta?" I'd say Arteta. But this close, they're both shocking. But there we go. Listen, I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm live with Terry at 2:00 UK time, I think. And then I'm with Rents on here. Obviously, he'll have a lot to say because his game's been cancelled against Leeds.
I'm watching that.
No Europa League.
Is Terry going to do this? Is Terry going to do this here?
Mate, Terry can't close the door, let alone close me, mate. Poor old Terry. At least his hair's grown back.
You had to pay
yeah,
for that, didn't you? I you had to pay thousands for that.
I mate, to be fair, he's had a result. It looks all right. But
yeah, but you had to pay thousands for that.
About $5,000, I think.
Bloody hell. Money well spent, eh? His channel must be
Well,
making a lot of money.
He's happy. So yeah, 2 o'clock tomorrow UK time with Terry, and then I think 5 o'clock. Yeah, 5 o'clock on here UK time with Rant. So plenty more content to come. So yeah, I'm out of here. This is me done for the day. Big up to everyone watching on playback as well. Make sure you moon the likes up, people. But our game against PSV is done, but our game against Brentford is 12 o'clock Sunday.
Arteta out. Arteta out.
Adios amigos, Arteta fuera para siempre. Adios. I need to